Today, we are going to know a lot of facts about an underhyped industry, but is slowly making almost billions in business.
It was very difficult. I had no idea how to run a business to start with, so I still remember year one, we went full blown into bankruptcy. And fast forward 26 years down, that is not the challenge anymore. We want to become the number one in what we do in the world.
So, from bankruptcy to being the number one in the MENA region, was this more difficult than the starting up?
Substantially. I think Steve Jobs said it very nicely. He called it passion. I don't like passion because passion fades off. Business is all about solving challenges non-stop every single day. If you have no why behind a business, you're just going to die in these situations. If I would write a book today, I know it, people have asked me and I know what the title is, it's Failure is Not an Option. There's a misconception that business owners make more money. They don't. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You have to be very hardcore to be an entrepreneur. Sides of entrepreneurship, they see the flashy cars or homes, they think that's what it is and they don't deserve it. They don't see what we go through every single day to make life happen. The salaries we paid in my company before COVID, our payroll was 9 million, just the payroll.
Hello, everyone. Today, we are back with another podcast and another guest. This is Rupa from the Business Blueprint, powered by Blackstone Business Setup Services. So, today we have an amazing guest in our podcast. He's a strategist, he's a storyteller, and also a sustainable fan. He's moved from Frankfurt to Dubai and has championed the circular economy and running a business on printers and remanufacturing of printers. Let's dive deep into the story of this legend who is trying to make a legacy here. Welcome, Mr. Sassan. How are you doing?
Good morning, Rupa. How are you?
Good, very
Good to see you.
So, I would like to know that you are a lawyer by profession. From the heart of Frankfurt to moving to Dubai and in a business of circular economy or printers, what made this shift or make this decision of moving here?
Well, there is the light story. I say a brick fell on my head and something happened, as it happens with entrepreneurs. And there is a deeper story that led to it. So I always, even from school days, had impact in me. And I always wanted to make impact somehow in the society, in life. And I guess that goes back to childhood. I come from a mixed parenthood and lost the country of my childhood due to a revolution. So we had to leave that country. And with that, we had to leave not only a country, but a home. We had to leave behind everything we had, the wealth. We had to start from zero as a family.
How old were you then?
I was 11. So I saw tanks on the streets. I saw fighting. I saw, a revolution in full-blown reality. And we had to leave the country with anything but one suitcase for my mother and one suitcase for me on a night flight out of an airport extracted by US military. So it doesn't get better compared to any movie.
Oh.
So impact is the buzzword. So I guess that's sat deep in my subconscious mind. How can you make this world, this planet safer and better? How can you contribute somehow to other children not going through the same misery? Because no child should experience anything like that. And I'm a stringent believer that any misery in life, anywhere in the world, comes from the lack of employment, the lack of opportunity. So if there is opportunity, there is employment, and people are satisfied in jobs, why would there be any unrest? Why would be there any terrorism? Why would be there any revolution needed? Why would be even crime needed? Nothing is needed. I asked during the Arab Spring a few years back, I asked one of my local friends in Dubai, what do you think is going to happen in Dubai? Everyone was excited, right? Egypt is blowing up. Other countries are, in chaos. He said, what do you want to happen in Dubai? I said, I don't know. You tell me. He said, we are all in such a great position. We have such an amazing leadership. We have all the comforts given to us in the world. What do you think would happen here? Nothing. Everything will go on.
So moving from those streets to becoming a lawyer, how did that happen? Who supported you, or how did you manage to reach there?
So law was one fundamental avenue, at least what I thought in the movies, that I could contribute and have impact. You watch the movies and you saw those lawyers, working in different aspects, public law, international organizations, UN, embassies. Those dreams were with me. You could be in politics. And in Germany, it's very normal because I was raised in Germany. I educated in Germany. So it's very normal to become engaged in the youth organization of political organizations, which I did. I was a member quickly in the state where I studied. I was elected to the board of that political party, and very quickly into it, even 1-2 years into it, as I realized that is not politics, for me at least, is not the way to have impact. I realized that everyone is in politics because of personal benefit and interests, and it became very clear, and I made a promise to myself. I think I was around 20, 21 years old. I made a promise to myself that I should become an entrepreneur, and I should become the biggest entrepreneur in my power, in my abilities, and the more I could have impact on individuals and their lives and their families and spread good values, which I believed was essential for this world to go on. That's how the movement came away from politics. I remained with law. In law, I was extremely entrepreneurial. I worked for one of the top 10 city law firms in Frankfurt. In fact, we were number 6 in Germany at the time, with 600 lawyers across Germany and Europe. And I tried to open the law firm's business in the Middle East.
And which year was this?
We are talking now the period 1994 until 1999. I was 5 years in the legal business. Of course, after studying, doing my PhD, I did various things. I went to Oxford. I almost went into becoming a fellow. I actually applied for a fellowship.
Oh.
Today, I would say, thankfully, it got rejected. Otherwise, I would have gotten stuck in academia in Oxford. But I left it. I did publications. I wrote a book. I wrote many articles, expert articles, all in the legal domain at the time. And yes, my aspiration was to expand back to the Middle East, where half my roots are. I'm half German, half Persian, Azerbaijani. And Dubai was just an amazing platform for that. It was the amalgamation of East and West. And it was just at the beginning. Nobody could see, except maybe His Highness, where Dubai would go. Because the first time I landed here in 1996, city center just had opened and the rest was sand and desert. Jumeirah was out of town visit. And that excited me, that you could have impact somewhere where it's growing. I
could also see that this place is going to grow and I'm going to grow with it.
I just felt the energy. I remember I stood at the creek. Those days, the Intercontinental at the creek was the address to be, so that's where I stayed, and on multiple trips, and I just could feel the vibes and the energy at the creek. All these merchants coming in and going out, and my to-be local partner at the time, he took me on a drive at night. First day I arrived through the Deira, narrow streets of Deira, jam-packed with hundreds, if not thousands of people, and he said, "Sassan, if you understand this, you understand Dubai." I end that story. I went to one little shop. Once I had moved here, and it had very cute teapots, and I'm a tea drinker. So I asked, could I buy this teapot? He said, "How many cartons do you want?" I said, "1 teapot for my home." He said, "Sorry, sir, we just do container loads and wholesale." Oh. So that shop was smaller than the studio we're sitting right now in, and probably was doing millions of dollars of revenue in a year. And that was the ethos of Dubai, to understand that. That is the trade city and hub that Dubai served so many nations in the Middle East and Africa as the only solid, stable city with true freedom for its citizens.
Wow. So what made you now shift to this business of circular economy? And if you can tell us a little bit about what your company does in Dubai.
How did I come to this industry? As any entrepreneur would lie if this was a childhood dream, I think I slipped into it. I slipped into it. It was a coincidence. What is not a lie and what is true is that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. That was affinity number 1. Affinity number 2 was that I definitely wanted to be in manufacturing. In my, maybe that's a German trait. If you're not producing something, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
At least 30, 40 years ago, that was the mindset.
Very true.
I didn't want to be in trade. I didn't want to be in services at the time. I had to produce. Still remember many conversations in university days, people would ask, "So what do you want to produce?" I said, "I don't know. I don't care what it is, but I want to produce." And then I had this client who was in this industry. So where did it start? It was the remanufacture of original HP toner cartridges. So when they get depleted, and typically they're thrown into a bin, and that's it, and end of life. Circular economy, back then was not a buzzword, but it was clear that there is economic value in an expensive product that can cost up to $400 a piece, that throwing that in the bin is just a waste. It cannot be. So this client of mine was already in the remanufacturing of ribbons at the time. Ribbons are those tapes that go into typewriting, right? Dot matrix printers, we call them. And he was, looking at opportunities because of high taxation and high labor costs in Germany, and I introduced him to the idea of Dubai as a manufacturing hub. Long story short, I introduced him to a local partner. The local partner said, I know you. If you come in, then I'm in. Oh. Otherwise, I'm not. He said, I'm from the industry. I know the industry, but you know everything about business and business setup and Dubai. Why don't you come in? And the original idea was born. 3 of us came in an equal partnership, each at 1/3 of the company. Back in '99, we started it. It took me 2 to 3 weeks to put a 15-year career, including the education period, aside and say, I'm done with law. I'm moving out. The trigger point for me to decide, in this flourishing law firm, I had the best mentor in my professional career, Rudolf de Menil, who was the head of the law firm. And he had back pain. He was in his 50s, and he had a standing desk that he often worked on. And one night, I literally woke up drenched in sweat, and I saw myself at that desk at the age of over 50. And I said, that cannot be it. I'm not here to just make money and exist in the most comfortable environment that you could imagine, Germany being one of the top 3 economies of the world, everything being perfect. I just could not picture myself working there 30, 40 years and having no other impact but making money and having a comfortable life. That was just not me. And that...
Come out of your comfort zone.
I had to come out of my comfort zone, and it wasn't a difficult decision at all. It took me 2-3 weeks to evaluate. I looked at the industry.
Because down the line, you had it inside. I think that was just cooking inside. So
I think the entrepreneur is deep inside people, because what differentiates entrepreneurs? They have insoluble, risk for creation. Yeah. The word entrepreneur comes from the undertaker. The French original meaning means the undertaker, the doer, and you just have it in you. So you can't just be satisfied with, even my legal peers back then, in terms of money, they make amazing money in the top firms in Germany. They make millions of euros a year into their pocket in the top law firms. So that's never been the motivation. That's never can be the motivation for a successful entrepreneurial career.
Very true.
So the industry, in a nutshell, was a coincidence. Yeah. The hyper appealing aspect to me, the second appealing aspect, it was industry, it was manufacturing, it was going to create jobs in countries where it matters.
Yes.
And as you know, in the Middle East, youth unemployment is amongst the highest. The Middle East overall, not Dubai, but the Middle East overall, was one of the most unstable geopolitical regions of the world. So where would it matter more to create jobs and wealth, to avoid such things and create wealth so that we have a better future for everyone?
So your purpose of creating impact was also intact with the decisions that you were making.
Absolutely. And then the crown of the affair was that it was green.
It was green.
My mother was a co-founding member of the Green German Party back in the days, in the 80s. So our household was extremely green. We grew up with fruits and vegetables out of the garden. We grew up with 5 different waste bins to segregate waste. I would be lying if I told you I'm a green fanatic. I actually hated those 5 waste bins when we were a child, where we had to segregate everything. But when the business opportunity said, okay, it's production, it's in the IT sector, it's technology, and it's green on top, that was really the icing on the cake for me. I said, wow.
Maybe you hated the vegetables, but the values that they gave you, I think that stayed intact, right? That shows its colors sometime.
Look, ever since we have been producing something around 5 to 6 billion pages printed on our toner cartridges and printers, and we made a pledge a few years back that we know that in printing, paper is the highest consumption and the highest culprit of the environmental impact. The printers and the cartridges, we are already extending their life, which means zero waste to landfill. Nothing goes to landfill. Whatever comes to our facility in terms of printers or cartridges is either reused or provided to the official recycling channels where plastic, metals, and aluminiums are reused. Right. So zero goes to landfill. That's our pledge. But in addition to that, paper is consumed. What do we do with the paper? So 4 years ago, we're jumping here a bit back and forth, but 4 years ago, I became the patron of an organization in Kenya called Youth for Green Action Kenya, and their single mission was to plant trees and educate on sustainability. Wow. They had, to that date, planted around 65,000 trees, including this year's campaign, which just was launched this week. We're reaching 700,000 trees. That at the most conservative estimate covers about 7 billion pages. And our pledge remains that we will replace twice the quantity of pages printed on our devices by reforestation.
Wow.
And yes, 700,000 trees we have planted till date.
So in this world where everybody is talking about sustainability, climate control, everything, but we see very less in actions. So do you have any suggestion to entrepreneurs who think good, they want to contribute, but they don't know how to do it?
Take action. Don't wait for anyone. That's the fundamental principle of entrepreneurship. You have to find what is your passion and take action. If it's sustainability, you have to take action. Unfortunately, we see that sustainability is a self-prophecy prophecy that, a lot of people out there, they just set up a site pretending to be green or offer some green platforms, whatever you might call it. But we call it in the industry greenwashing. And our business is not green because we want to be green. Our business is green. We fundamentally believe there is no raw material in this world that should be thrown away. So we extend life. That's our core purpose today. We call it extending life. We extend life of the machines. We extend life of the print cartridges. And we extend life for humanity by planting trees. We do our contribution in the size and scale that we are to reforest this planet because we are losing an ample amount of trees very rapidly over the last 20 to 30 years. And that's extending life so that our children have a future planet to live on. And I believe true entrepreneurship is very different than business ownership.
Yeah.
Business ownership, we have millions across the world, and its purpose is to fulfill the lifestyle of a person. And by the way, there is nothing bad about it at all. Yeah. Nothing bad about it. That any person who has extracted themselves from a labor market and is in their own responsibility has added value, in my eyes, to the food chain on this planet.
Yes.
But the biggest difference between a lifestyle business and the entrepreneur is the lifestyle business is just there with a singular purpose to provide for the personal lifestyle of a person or his family or her family. And they're happy, driven by that money and the level of freedom they obtain from not working for someone. Entrepreneurship to me is the next level, where it is about something bigger than yourself. Yeah. So whatever that vision is, whatever that purpose is, it could be in all facets of life. It doesn't matter in which facet, but it's more than just feeding yourself. And that's where, for me, also the fun starts, where you do something that is more meaningful than just working for yourself.
Very true. So now you have, when you were a lawyer, you were suggesting people, recommending people, guiding people. And suddenly the shift happened and you became an entrepreneur and you are now more of an action taker, where you have to, ensure everything goes right. You have to take the action. You have to take the initiative. You're not just the advisor. So was this shift difficult? Any challenges that you faced in this shift? Or
it was very difficult. I had no idea how to run a business to start with. So I still remember year one, we went full-blown into bankruptcy. Yes, we almost did not survive in year one of our business. Because the fundamental concept why I left my legal profession, why we set up the company, was to produce outsource for a German factory.
Right.
However, we employed 40, 50 people, production started. 6 months it took us to get there. We bought a production manager that we signed up out of the USA. Fantastic setup. We had the first 2 containers ready to go back to Germany in March, April 2000. Remember, we set up in September 99. 6 months later, we had these containers ready with 11,000 cartridges ready to go back to Germany. And our one and only customer declares bankruptcy. Oh. So no one was there to take these cartridges in Germany.
Oh.
And no one was interested to pay the fees for the manufacturing. So we were sitting on these cartridges and said, what do we do? And that set off the idea to deliver that product to this region because it was not known to the region. And that was the beginning of the career. And then the local partner and we bought out the third partner who came from the industry because he wanted to then go back to Germany. So he was out within a year just to continue the story. And my local partner also went into early retirement around 2011 and wanted me to buy him out. So I bought him out as well. So over the time, I bought the two partners out as well.
Oh, wow.
But that was essentially the shift. And then the dream was born. Let us become the number one in the Middle East and Africa.
Wow.
And fast forward 26 years down, that is not the challenge anymore. We want to become the number one in what we do in the world. So we have just opened Germany as a market. We opened an office in Frankfurt. I'm just currently talking to New York. I'm talking to Mexico. I'm talking to South Africa, across the globe.
So from bankruptcy to being the number one in the MENA region. And so this journey of, sustaining and, being consistent, was this more difficult than the starting up?
Substantially.
Because everyday world is changing, AI is coming, people are going go paperless, digital. How did you manage to sustain your brand for 26 years?
It is a nightmare at times. At times it is a nightmare. And then when this nightmare kicks in, then you have to really remind yourself of why you're doing this. That's why the why is so important. Like people talk about the why behind the business and an entrepreneur. And it is the hard times. I think Steve Jobs said it very nicely. He called it passion. I don't like passion because passion fades off. A why stays. And it is the hard times when the why kicks in and makes you sustain and reinvent and have the stamina that you require. Business is all about solving challenges, non-stop, every single day. People challenges, market challenges, product challenges, supply chain challenges. These are the internal ones. Then are the external ones. Gulf War I, Gulf War II, COVID, world crisis 2008. We thought 2008 is the worst we had seen, which was the worst we had seen for many decades. And we thought that's the worst. I still get goosebumps when I saw the fleet of Emirates landing during COVID. For me, airports were always the synonymous of freedom.
Yes.
Right? You fly, you're free, you reach everywhere in the world. And my office has always been next to the airport. In Frankfurt, I was in a tower, I could see the planes landing into Frankfurt airport. In Dubai, my facility, the production facility, is next to airport in Mall Industrial Zone, so right next to the airport. So every morning on the way to the airport, I see, the planes, and it reminds me of the free world. And during COVID, if you might remember, the flight ban kicked in, and I saw 230 odd large planes landing, one after another. Back then I was in tears and I had goosebumps. I said, the world is at an end. If planes of this magnitude are landing, there was no space in the airport. The world is at an end. So we thought we saw the worst crisis in 2008, in 2020. We didn't know if we will exist as a human race after this. We didn't know, if you remember. We didn't know.
We didn't know what's happening.
Yet we adapted, and we stayed open, actually, because we are in manufacturing. We supplied a lot of hospitals with print cartridges and print services. All of a sudden, that became 60% of our business. National Ambulance in Abu Dhabi, National Reference Laboratories, where all the tests are done in Abu Dhabi, Mediclinic as a hospital, name it, Ras Al Khaimah a pharmaceutical company. So we got a special permission by DED to remain open as an industrial plant. So even in the hard lockdown, me and my team, we would go to the factory and produce and deliver.
Very true.
And the healthcare was 60% of our revenue at that time. And that if you have no why behind the business, you're just going to die in these situations. I mean, not physically, but as a business. There is a nice statistic. Every 7 years, a business will be in a substantial crisis and shift. Internally or external reason, doesn't matter, but every 7 years. To the T, I have experienced this since inception. And this is a global statistic. And if you don't invent and reinvent yourself, then it looks very bleak.
Exactly. You answered something which I was just going to ask, that, what an entrepreneur should, even if my why is intact, but still when suddenly the environment changes, something changes, and my, business total foundation is shaken, how do they survive? Do they diversify? Do they continue with the same thing? Do they shift to something totally, different tangent? So that's, I think, a very important question. So in your printing industry, the when the world was going go paperless, for whatever reason,
COVID.
so then did you which was the year when you exactly felt, okay, maybe the sales dropped down or something happened that made you realize that, okay, and what did you do to come out of it?
COVID and post-COVID has been a death stab to maybe 60, 70, 80% of companies in our industry worldwide.
Because the world went digital.
So nobody went to offices. Offices were closed. So COVID year for the printing industry meant on average 30 to 50% reduction of print volumes. Lose 30 to 50% of your revenue in 1 year and survive. Post-COVID, we thought COVID is over. No way. There were so many people laid off that didn't go to offices. So many people were laid off. And second, the working from home policy started. And with that, another entire shift came. So in my industry, another 30% of revenue was shaved off. So we lost about 75% of revenue
And the
in
biggest
those years of
virtue,
COVID and post-COVID. 75% of revenue gone.
even the biggest virtue of paper was the touch. And after COVID, people till date, people are scared of touching anything. That thing always plays when.
Yeah. So the printing industry was one of the hardest, office industry was one of the hardest hit industries worldwide. We are no exception to it. Then we had another phenomenon, which in Dubai is very prevalent, as the Chinese print cartridges. Very cheap products had moved into the market starting around, I would say, 2015 already, coming massively into the markets, offering a very cheap proposition. Now, the Chinese cartridge is a complete copy and new build. And in Western markets, the imports are prohibited at large because they're violating patent laws of the OEM manufacturers. They provide health risks because the chemicals they use in those print cartridges have emissions that are not permissible in European laws in the office clean air standards. And the market there, despite of that, the Chinese took a massive, massive run on the markets globally because their product was rebuilt and nowadays is rebuilt at $3 to $4. And you cannot imagine how a product can be built for $3 to $4 unless there's substantial strategies and subsidies from the government behind it. It's just impossible to have 1 to 2 kilograms of plastics, aluminum, electrostatic products, toner powders, photoorganic drums. The entire technology of printing sits in a cartridge in HP, not in the printer. I always say that people perceive the printer as a technology bit, but the printer is actually just a conveyor belt for paper. It transports it, and an oven which bakes what you printed on paper, the toner powder, into the paper at 400 degrees Celsius. That's what happens in a printer. The entire magic of what you print, that image, that text that you write, the laser beams that ride on photoorganic drums, the entire technology, how to evolve and pick up toner and place it on a paper and bake it into a paper, happens inside the cartridge. The microchip that communicates with the printer and your PC, where you see, all the results that you see, happens all in the cartridge. And this product for us was the high technology product that we focused on. Until date, this is the core product. Now, in shifting your strategy, in shifting markets, you need to know when you're hit by Chinese, when you're hit by COVID, what do you do with this core product? We know this core product is there, but we know that the market is shrinking and has shrunk substantially. So where would you place a high quality product? And that's the pivot that is happening with us today as we speak. We pivoted by using printers as the transport vehicle for cartridges and offering them for free to the market. So that's one offering that we do in the markets where we are present in directly, which is Nairobi, Kenya, Dubai, and Frankfurt.
So instead of compromising your quality, you added more value.
I add more value.
Okay, let's take this.
And I stick to the premium segment. So we stick to the premium segment. We realize there are segments in the market where the printing is still integral part of their business. An example of a food delivery company, I mean food boxes, you know, the home recipes.
The delivery company, exactly.
The home recipes that
home
you get
recipe.
the food ingredients at home, you get the recipe, and you cook your own meal at home. That printout of the recipe card needs to be of highest quality. And without the recipe card, the food box is not going out. That particular client of ours has a 3-level backup. If machine level is 1, that they have invested 200,000 into them, is breaking down, there is a machine level 2 at site. If that breaks down, there is a machine level 3 at my site with their software and their recipes loaded on it. So, because that business depends on a high quality printout at the time they need it, otherwise it cannot operate. The world's largest logistics company and e-commerce company, we are not supposed to name names, but there is only one that is the largest company in the world, is my client, corporate client. Why? Because the reliability, when that box needs to be shipped, and they ship millions of boxes just here in this market, that printout needs to be there. So they cannot work with a Chinese inferior product or a cheaper machine or an unreliable supplier, because then their entire supply chain is interrupted. These are just 2 examples I share with you that there are segments in the industry. Retail. There is a famous chocolatier in the UAE with many branches, 60, 70 branches. Why do they need high-level printing? Because they print labels for the chocolates that they customize for their customers at site. So they have my biggest machine that we provide today free of cost in this package that I say, where they just pay for the toners and the service, and the printer becomes free. That's a 25,000 dirham printer that they get for free. Wow. And they need the adaptability of high-quality printouts for their customer product at site. So they don't have the time to wait until it goes to a printing house and comes back, and they cannot afford, as a premium product, to use an inferior printer, a cheaper copier, or a Chinese toner, or an inferior service company. So there is a bandwidth of industries. But we realized during this pivot that this is very difficult to scale, because you need to reach the right business owner in the right time. So you need a massive sales organization to do this. So we said, what is our strength? Our strengths remain the HP remanufactured toner cartridges. If you make the best next to HP, there is nothing next to it worldwide in terms of quality what we produce. Now, we said the world is ours. So we started reaching out not too long ago, and hence first customer in Germany, in Mexico. We're talking now New York, again, South Africa, Uganda, Kenya, wherever it is now. It's about in 20 countries we sell already. And now the aim is to reach 50, 60 countries. And that's where various business networks come into place that can help you reach the right person in the right country much faster, as if you compare to a situation where you're not in any given business network.
Very, very good strategy. I think, it really inspires even me. When I think from my business angle, or any other business can take this as a, example of how you handle these kind of situations in your business. So now what about...
If I interrupt you very briefly, when COVID hit, I just looked up, how do we survive? I'm not going to close. If I'm closed, we're gone.
Yes.
And I went through various literatures, quotes, to try and find the one quote that inspires me and equally inspires my teams, where we said we will not terminate a single person because of COVID during COVID. We actually retained all our employees throughout COVID. We had a salary shave in an adaptive formula, depending on what we sell, but we retained every single employee throughout COVID. The quote that came to mind was from Darwin, master of survival theories. It was, it's not the fastest that survives, and it's not the strongest that survives. It's the most adaptable that survives. So we had to adapt during COVID. We had to adapt post-COVID in the era of home office and minimization of printing and pressure by the environment. So we had to adapt, and some use the word pivoting, and then you have to continuously pivot into something else and some other way to do best what you can.
Best what you can. So what's next? Like, where do you see this industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Look, the industry is not a 4 billion, it's a 40 billion industry. Printing is today still a $40 billion industry. HP's division, IPG, from just the printing division is a $20 billion division. And HP is the global market leader. And then you have all the
I think
other
4
brands.
billion is just the remanufacturing.
4 billion is just the alternative remanufactured models. And you have the Chinese models, which is a different game, which mostly makes its way into counterfeit products, unfortunately, and not into, meaningful places. But it's a very massive industry. However, it's dense, and the value proposition is tight because also the cheap product don't communicate we are a cheap, bad, non-functioning, unreliable product. No, they copy our boxes or put it into an HP box. So they, project to customers that they are a reliable remanufactured product while they're not. They put fake logos on it while they're not. And that's the product that is cheap that lands in market, and buyers go for it, and they don't know what they're doing. They're not informed well enough. So where does this industry go in these tighter markets? You have to find the partners, and that's how we are pivoting, that are taking care of those B2B clients that matter, where printing still is an integral part to their business. For us to find them in a world of 8 billion people in 200 countries is difficult. So our strategy today is to find those relevant partners in each place of the world, in each corner. And it's not about size. We call ourselves a boutique operator. It's about that fineness that partner of ours has, because he values his customers. He's providing IT goods, services, or printing services to a set of corporate clients, and values that relationship beyond anything. That's the partners we're looking for worldwide in our network, and those we are now finding with the help of our networks more and more. And they want a quality product, and that's the differentiation that kicks in. And our focus is on the larger enterprise printers of HP, the ones that you would use in a corporate environment, not the very small ones in home and office, because the Chinese do a good enough job, and it's so cheap that that market no one can penetrate or enter but the Chinese. And that's maybe 70% of the market. But 30% of the market is that corporate market where 60% of the printing happens, or 70% of the printing happens, and that's on bigger machines. And that's where the Chinese don't have rivaling products. There's no viability of their product. So it's either HP or it's us. And that's exactly our vision. It's either HP or it's us.
Or it's us. That's amazing. So now that I know that we spoke a lot about the business angle, but I know you're a great networker as well, and you're a part of EO, BNI, and many other organizations. So though we are short on time, but I would just like to ask you, what is your formula of choosing a network, and how do you utilize it for your personal or organizational goal or gain?
My advice is never choose a network because you feel you need to belong somewhere, which many people do, because they feel it gives them status or belonging. I would say seek a network that serves your purpose best.
Yeah.
Belonging matters, but it serves your purpose of the time best. I'm a member of EO, which is the largest entrepreneurial organization in the world, with 19,000 members, purely entrepreneurs, no employees in it. In the Dubai chapter, I was also president of the chapter, served 4 years on the board. Now I'm on the global or regional chapter as a growth director for the Middle East Africa region, part of the global growth portfolio. And I give my time and effort to this organization. And it served me best because EO is much about the human and the person and our own journey in a peer-to-peer environment where we learn from each other and we go through the most difficult times or the most beautiful times of life together. That's the huge value of EO and big differentiation. But let's say BNI. Some people would say, as an EO or an ex-president, how can you join BNI? I tell you, join anything that serves you best. BNI is a business network organization, and I'm about to learn business networking. Again, I'm my company's best business development manager today. And I have to be it. And
lifelong learning is your core value.
If the need of the time means you have to be, then you have to be, and there is nothing that will stop me. And in fact, there's somebody sitting right opposite to me right now who taught me how to use this network fundamentally well. I'm reaching out to BNI members across the world, where we have in 75 countries the chapters, and I'm asking them, do you know someone who wants to become my business partner in my industry, in your country? What better than that? What better than that? And that serves me at this point of time best. And that's where you take selfishly, Even in EO, we say take selfishly the learnings, not being a selfish human, take selfishly and give willingly. Both sides.
What a statement. Take selfishly and give willingly. Lovely.
I don't think anything will come to anyone in life unless they're a giver. Many people don't believe so. Many people try
Robin
to
Hood
hoard,
was-
but you have to give. Is it money? Is it time? Is it love? You have to share it in order to receive it. That's my fundamental principle.
Very true. So, as Sassan, what legacy you want to leave behind? Like, what you want people to talk about you when you're no more in the room?
You know, Rupa, I thought about this question, and it's often asked, and people ask it in various exercises, and it makes me a bit uncomfortable because I don't want to, talk down what anybody else might feel about the word legacy. To me, it has to do a lot with vanity. Legacy equal vanity. If I'm thinking today about how I should be because others would think, that's fundamentally against the grain how I work. I did never do anything because somebody should think about me something. It's how I can serve, how I can do better for my family, for myself, for my family, and for the society in the widest context, or for the environment. That's what I do. Do I need to write it down that people talk about it, he did this or he does that, or I work for that purpose that after my lifetime people will say he did this or done that? For me, I know I don't want to discredit it, and for many people it might be an inspiration or motivation to work based on a legacy. I think legacies no one should work on. If at all, they should be the nature of what you did in your life. If you did well in your life, whether the legacy is in your village, in your family, in your association, in your business network, or in a wider country, or in the world, people would say, oh, Rupa did this and that. She was a great person, she contributed to the world something. That's up to them. But that should be not your aim. That should be the outcome of what you did. Just as they say, money should never be your aim. Money should be the outcome of what you did. If you do a great job, you get money. If you do a lousy job, you don't get money. So if we had tough times with less money after COVID, I told my team, don't look at the outside. Don't look at anything. Ask yourself one question. Did we do the right job? Because the customer decides whether we get the right amount of money. And if you don't get the right amount of money, it means we have done a lousy job. Yes. So let's get our bums up and do the right job and do the right things and get our, act together, irrespective of external conditions, and the money will come to you. That's my biggest tip to any aspiring entrepreneur. Never ever chase the money. The money should be the outcome of doing the right things.
Very true. I think, again, you answered exactly the question I was going to ask, that, now your story, whether you want or not, people will talk about it because you have had an amazing journey. Like, you have seen revolution, you have seen wars, you have seen bankruptcy, you have seen, literally...
Greenfield company in Africa,
Greenfield
starting
company.
it from
Exactly. You have
scratch.
seen business shifts. You have seen Dubai growing from what it was to what it is. So, you have spent a decade in a business, and you have...
3 decades almost.
3 decades, and you have tasted all the, flavors of situations that can come to an entrepreneur or a person. So
situations that put joy in your face and put tears in your face, we go through them all the time.
exactly. So if suppose a 20-year-old at 2 o'clock at night watching this podcast, what message would you like to give him, or what kind of courage you would like to give to those people who are very easily shaken with situations, who are not able to gather courage to do something that they want, who are still blaming the situations in their life, what is that message that can literally get them up from the bed and get going?
If I would write a book today, I know it, people have asked me, and I know what the title is, it's Failure is Not an Option.
Failure is not an option.
I think that's the biggest misconcept to anyone that, comes maybe from the West, in the United States mainly. You can fail businesses, go into bankruptcy, wipe off the debt, start another one, wipe off the debt, maybe cheat a few people on the path. To me, failure is not an option. If you want to get in business, get up and running. I encourage anyone who wants. But at the same time, I say, it's not for you, it shouldn't be for you. There's a misconception that business owners make more money. They don't.
They don't.
There's a tiny percentage that makes more than corporate people. The big corporate people make a lot more money. And it's never their responsibility. They talk big, they flashy suits and cars, but they have zero responsibility at the end.
No
If they
liability.
move out of one company, they go to another company. It might be a CEO of a company with 50 or 100,000 employees. It's the same thing. Does it mean that employment is bad? No. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You have to be very hardcore to be an entrepreneur, because the downs are as the yin and yang. There is no down without an up. There is no up without a down. So if you're an entrepreneur, it's inevitable that you will face challenges, market challenges, industry challenges, global challenges, internal challenges, employee challenges. You need to love and embrace challenges. You need to have the stamina, which, perseverance to look through, which depends at large on that belief system and that vision that you have for life and your business. Without that, that belief system, you will not have the energy to stand through this crisis. It's all about crisis. The biggest difference between an entrepreneur and non-entrepreneur is that he or she stands in when there is crisis, while others take back. They're not willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
What is otherwise the difference? You're a business owner yourself. When others pack up and leave, when there is war, when there is crisis, when there is COVID, you're standing there and you think, how am I going to do it next?
That's why we have seen entrepreneurs getting bankrupted. We have not seen employees getting bankrupted.
Even bankrupt, I resent the word to get bankrupt. I mean, why do you fail? Why should you fail? Maybe I fail. I don't know. I hope certainly not. I haven't failed till now. But have I had tough times? Have I made losses? Well, 100%. 100%. But then I, have to wrap up myself, and I have to look at new ways into the market and new people, new ventures, new countries, new opportunities. That is why I say failure is not an option. There's no giving up in business. If you want to give up in business, be a bus driver. Drive the bus, get a government salary for 40 years. Don't pressure yourself with business. People see the beautiful sides of entrepreneurship. They see the flashy cars or homes. They think that's what it is, and they don't deserve it. They don't see what we go through every single day to make life happen. The salaries we paid in my company are 10 or 20-fold of whatever money I ever took over 26 years out of the business. An entrepreneur is not about self-fulfillment. My peak year before COVID, our payroll was 9 million, just the payroll. Do you think I made 9 million? I accumulate over 26 years what I have paid to people in the supply chain, in salaries, do everything to society. You're working for others. Working for yourself is an illusion. So have that stamina.
Wonderful message. So, I'll have this printed on my desktop. Failure is not an option.
Not an option.
And so
Reinvention.
Reinvention. So before I end up, my last question. Which country will become your retirement home? Germany, Azerbaijan, or Dubai? And why?
Oh my God. Or maybe something else.
Or maybe something
In
else.
Africa.
Yes. Feel free to
Africa
answer.
is very beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Really, I don't know. Really, I don't know. I think I will have a leg in Dubai. Maybe if it's retirement time. Actually, I don't know the word retirement. It's alien to me.
See, I don't
So
see. I don't think you've ever thought about it.
I would think about working less, but hence I would still have Dubai, and definitely maybe a place in Africa, because it's such a beautiful continent, and maybe a leg in Germany. So you are between three places, different
Very
seasons.
diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
That's why you're a lawyer, diplomat.
No, really, I don't know, because I don't have a singular place to say that's home, because I am mixed background, right? So as a mixed background, you cannot say I'm going back to that route 100%.
You love.
So you go where life takes you and where you enjoy, and the infrastructure and environment provides you, with that pleasure. I need warm climate. That is for sure. I love warm climate. So Germany, I love Germany. It has given me everything I had in education and life and so on, but it's a bit cold for life. So, but I will have always a leg there, and I will always go and have wonderful friends there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sassan. I think it was such a short but very, very inspiring podcast. I think we invented and reinvented a lot of concepts, philosophies, and strategies with you. I'm so happy that we met today and did this podcast. I hope all of you also liked the podcast, and do feel free to tell us what you liked about our podcast. Feel free to ask questions. Sassan would love to answer you back. We will give the contact details in the podcast in the below link. Thank you so much for watching us and encouraging us to make such quality contents. We will keep bringing new stories and inspiring you. This is Rupa Jha signing off from the Business Blueprint, powered by Black Swan Business Setup Services. Thank you for watching us.
Thank you, Rupa, for having me, and thank you to the audience for watching. And hopefully, we have more opportunities to talk about more topics. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.